All right. Hello, everyone. This is the Kings of Punk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tyler Hammer, and with me is our normal hosts.
I mean, debatably normal, but we're always here. Jake Razor here, and to my right,
Gary U.S. Bombs.
And you probably saw it. We have a great episode for you.
Yeah, we got something big that you're going to be hearing today. Whenever you listen to this,
we're kicking off like pretty early right now, and no fluff to begin with.
We're gonna get straight to the point here.
I will. It's a real quick little bit of fluff, I suppose. Is thank you to our Patreon subscribers, in particular, our Cop Pod Kingpin top tier subscribers, Noise of Varich and G, and thank you to everyone else who's been listening and supporting as well as always. And we hope that today's content interview is to your liking. We think it will be.
I think so. If you didn't know, we are interviewing Harley Flanagan, legendary vocalist, bassist, songwriter,
all of the above,
artist from
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, longtime practitioner and instructor.
From the band the CRO-MAGS, which we did a legacy of episode.
Sure did.
And so you are probably familiar with them if you aren't for some reason.
If you aren't, I mean, you got some work to do.
Yeah, go listen to the episode, listen to all their records.
Except one, maybe.
Maybe except one, and we'll get to it in the interview.
I mean, if to hear us, we would tell you to listen to it, but Harley maybe has something different to say.
Yeah.
But it was a really good. It's a sick honor to have him as our guest. We're recording this after we interviewed him.
We're showing you
a lot
of
of
sausage is made,
little sausage. But let's just get right.
Let's hop to it.
This is our interview with Harley Flanagan, in which you will not hear my voice either, because I did not have a mic that I could use, because Zoom is such a great
piece of
thing.
Shit.
We are joined today on the Kings of Punk podcast by a legend, an icon, someone who I feel honored to be speaking with, Mr. Harley Flanagan. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
So I guess to hop right in, you've got a movie pardon my ignorance, is it out yet or it's coming out? When's it
actually going to start its theater run on June 15th at the Roxy Cinema in New York City. It's also going to be showing in LA, San Francisco, Chicago, Philly, Boston, Seattle, Portland, Minneapolis, Austin, and there are other places that are getting added on that I'm just not aware of yet. But we recently signed a distribution deal with Lightyear Entertainment. It's a worldwide distribution. They were just at the Cannes Film Festival in France, and it's looking like this thing is going to start, moving. I mean, I would not be surprised if I, get on a flight and see it there.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So the movie.
Crazy.
It's great. And so it opens kind of with, maybe it doesn't open, but earlier on in the movie, there's a lot of stuff about New York City, your upbringing there, what life was like there, especially in your neighborhood back then. Obviously, it's almost a cliche to say that New York City has changed a lot. One of our questions was like seeing it change relative to back then. Are there anything you feel nostalgia for that have changed with New York City since then? And conversely, have you ever felt alienated from how that place has changed over the years?
Oh, that's a pretty good question. Well, starters, I am not much for nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of the people that I think most of the people that are nostalgic about the way New York was, honestly, I don't think most of them lived through it. I think it's more of a fantasy for them.
It's exactly what we thought.
Because the people who actually had to deal with like stepping over junkies in their fucking hallway and deal with people trying to mug you, and all that other bullshit, it wasn't exactly fun. I mean, not to like date myself, but I remember the Son of Sam and the blackout in '77 and the garbage strike that like totally fucked the city up, and just like all the crazy shit that was going on back then. It was really insane. I mean, if you want to get a good idea for what it was like, check out. There's a couple of documentaries, like I believe it's this Summer in Hell or something like that, about the year 1977 in New York, and it's just like shit was crazy, bro.
Yeah,
It was really unimaginable.
Yeah, that's kind of what as people who don't live there, we had similar thoughts of like, I feel like everybody who I hear who sounds nostalgic for that shit, like I look into it, I'm like, yeah, they're not from there, so that's probably why. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
And also the people, people also they like to romanticize their youth, and they forget that shit wasn't as cool as they would like to imagine.
That is, it's something I appreciated about the documentary is I noted how much you didn't do that, and that's not usually the case.
It was a fucking scary place to grow up, man. I mean, I love New York, and I was witness and privy to a lot of really cool shit, culturally, and, just like the evolution of music and the art world. And, I've known a lot of like heavy hitters, but again, it's one thing to be a part of the counterculture and the art scene and the music scene and everything when you're an adult and it's a choice that you make, and a lot of people, I spoke in great depth about this with Michael Imperioli. He was even saying how he himself and so many others, they come to New York seeking that grit and that creative energy and that danger and all those things that they fantasize about, all those things that they may not have in, New Jersey or bumblefuck Connecticut or, Idaho or wherever,
or Rochester. Yeah.
Wherever, it's just like, so there's a lot of fantasy that goes along with it because, you read about all the great artists and the great musicians and you think that you have to like be a part of that in order to really experience it and really live it and, to have authenticity. And, I don't have that problem. And it was, like I say, it was very different to grow up in that environment as a child where it's not your choice. Like,
Right.
I didn't choose to move down here to be hip. I didn't choose to move down here to be around the cool people and around the art world and the writers and the poets and the musicians. Actually, I didn't give a fuck. I was a kid. Those people were all boring adults to me.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, okay, that's fine. That's William Burroughs sitting in my kitchen. I don't give a fuck.
Wow.
I recognize him, that old guy, whatever.
Yeah, the old dude.
I mean, I could go on and like that. And so, to some people, it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. No, it actually wasn't. It's not amazing when your mom's an alcoholic and half the adults around you are alcoholics or junkies or just, basically fucked up on something. They're all, not to shit on anybody's sexuality, but they're all like bisexual and this and that and everything else. And, that none of that shit bothers me. But when you're a kid and this is like all you're exposed to,
right,
it's not really normal.
Sounds
again,
like
I'm not shitting on anybody's sexuality, at all. I'm just saying, I didn't have a normal childhood. Everything that was counterculture was normality, and it's not fucking great or conducive for a healthy life.
Sure.
Sorry, that's why I was fucking shooting drugs by the time I was 15.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot for a kid to take in, man.
Yeah. All the so-called cool people are the absolute worst fuck ups you can imagine.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
And it's fucking funny because that's what people look up to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, when you're a kid, obviously you learn from the adults and you emulate what they think is cool. And when everybody around you is completely fucked up on drugs, everybody around you is a fucking alcoholic and basically, let's face it, man, rock and roll back then, everybody was a fucking scumbag, fucking creep, pedophile. I mean, all the guys were fucking chicks that were underage. Let's just own it. Fucking even going back throughout history, Robert Plant, Steven Tyler, all those fucking dudes were pedophile scumbags. Period.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And people sleep on that, and they think, oh, well, people downplay it because it's just underage girls getting fucked by older guys. Well, I was underage and I was getting sexually molested. Let's just call it what it is. It's sexual molestation when you're underage and you don't have the mental capacity to understand any of these things.
Right.
So, there's a lot of, even like the guys that I grew up with and that I was friends with and looked up to, in hindsight, were scumbags.
Yeah.
I ran into Cheetah Chrome not that long ago, and I love Cheetah. We actually cried and hugged because we have known each other since I was 12.
Yeah.
He feels like an uncle to me. And at the same time, I'm like, he was like the worst scummy scumbag, like junkie. I know several chicks he was fucking that were way too young for him to be fucking. Like just the whole everything about back then was super fucking depraved. And people glorify it and they sleep on it. And it's like, if you were a chick and you got molested, or you were a chick and you got raped, or sexually assaulted by a guy in a band, no one gave a fuck. People get squeamish when I talk about it because I was a boy.
Sure.
And it's like, oh, that's more squeamish.
I think that's yeah. I think you're talking about an extreme case of it, but a lot of what you're saying, that experience of looking up to people and then getting a little bit older and being like, I think a lot of people, probably myself included, who are involved in like subculture stuff, whatever you want to call it, will actually find that relatable. So I appreciate you saying that. It's just, you got obviously an extreme crazy case of it, but that's something that,
dude, I was fucking 12 and I'm like,
to reoccur.
Sucked by like fucking 25-year-olds in bathrooms,
Jesus Christ.
So and I thought that was cool.
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean,
and it's not till like you become an adult and you realize that shit like that completely fucked up your, I don't want to say fucked up your sexuality, but like you don't even know what's real anymore. Like,
of course.
And that kind of goes back to like the New York City thing though, right? Because I mean, that was like a real like, bohemian town kind of, right?
Yeah, but I'm sure it was the same in fucking any other city that was hopping.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, let's just own it. In places where there wasn't all that type of shit going on, kids were getting fucking molested by their uncles or their babysitters or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
right.
It's a huge problem.
Like you're talking about, humanity, which is a fucking shit show. Most people are damaged goods, and you have a lot of people who are like actually really fucked up, and some people that are really dangerous, and some people that are sociopaths, I mean, I know a lot of people who had nothing to do with the rock and roll counterculture thing who were molested as kids and who, suffered violence and abuse. This is fucking life, man. And sadly, a lot of people, they don't know how to process it. And myself included, I made a lot of horrible mistakes and did a lot of fucked up things in my life because of, combination of all the things I had seen, been through, and not being able to process it and not knowing really, having an idea of what's right or wrong, but not really witnessing it firsthand. Like you may have a moral compass that's like, I don't know if this is cool or not, but then everybody else is doing it. So
Right.
so you wind up doing things that maybe you might not do just because that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, for instance, like being in a violent situation, for instance, where if you don't get involved, what, you're going to be the coward? You're going to be the one who doesn't jump in when your friends are talking? You're going to be that one because, at the end of the day, like, I could tell you from my own experience, there were situations when I was young where, if you didn't get your hands dirty, you were next on the fucking menu.
Right. Yeah. You talk about some stuff like that in the movie. With regards to, I think I have a question we wanted to ask that's tangentially related to that, but also pertaining to music. You talk in the movie, and I was aware as a fan previously about when you went to Ireland, you got your head shaved, you imported the skinhead thing to the USA. On the music front, we wanted to know, like, what are like some of your favorite Oi records from that era? Like, I'm curious how the skinhead thing pertained to music back then.
I was already big time into Sham 69 when I went over there. So, and everybody knows that they were a big band for skinheads, although they were not really a skinhead band. And in fact, Jimmy Percy kind of eventually, I don't want to say turned against his fans, but he started, speaking out against the violence at the shows and speaking out against the racism and the National Front and the British movement that were starting to sneak into the skinhead scene. Because that's not how it began. And people have this weird idea that they think of skinheads and they immediately think of like American History X. But the fact is that's nonsense. That's Hollywood. Because all you got to do and for you people out there who don't know any better, all you got to do is go to YouTube and type skinhead reggae.
For sure. Oh,
skinhead ska. And you're going to hear nothing but black artists doing songs about skinheads and being skinheads. So
for sure. Yeah. Simmerip, all that stuff. The
irony is that if you really go down and trace it, like skinheads were the first wiggers.
Dude, holy shit.
Black music. They borrowed their style of dress from Jamaican rude boys.
I've said this to people. And
it just slowly started to turn into more of a working class movement where they stopped wearing suits and started wearing their work boots and started rolling up their jeans instead of wearing, fancy, like, let's go to the club and dance to some ska. They started getting more street because let's face it, they were all, and you cannot be English and be male without being a football hooligan, a soccer hooligan. This is part of the fucking culture. So you get these kids who are, part of youth culture, these wiggers or skinheads who would go to football games and go and fight with the other team's fans and this and that. So you have sort of a violent type of a culture. This is just the way it is in Europe, They love to fight. They fight over sports. We don't really do that here. They fight over, if you're from a different neighborhood, they'll fight you. If you're, over here we have other stupid reasons, like you're wearing the wrong color or whatever, and you're in the wrong neighborhood. Over there, it's like football shit, sports shit. So the skinhead scene, it got, it got pretty fucking violent. It was pretty intense. And the difference in my humble opinion, what I perceived was that the punk rockers were not quite as aggressive. Skinheads were a little bit more like, take it to you. Whereas punk rockers used to get jumped.
Sure.
Skinheads didn't get jumped. Skinheads jumped people. So that was really the difference for me. The difference was you walk around with spiky hair and this and that, and you're going to get like assaulted. People are going to, yell at you, throw shit at you. You walk around skinhead, you're dressed for fucking battle. You got short hair. No one can pull your hair. You got boots on. You'll kick someone's fucking face in.
For sure.
For me, it just really meant being a skinhead just meant I'm not taking anybody's shit anymore. Period.
Yeah.
And for lack of a better way of putting it, we became the enforcers for the New York hardcore scene. Like if we went to a show and because people forget, back then hardcore shows typically happened in the hood. They happened in bad neighborhoods. You couldn't play shows anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so more often than not, you'd get in fights just on the way to the show or coming home from the show late. You'd get jumped by whoever the locals were, whatever local gang was on that block or in that vicinity. Or if it was in like an Italian neighborhood, you'd get jumped by a bunch of fucking Guidos and jocks. You know, that's just the way it was. If you were a punk rocker, you might as well have been walking around with a fucking target on you.
Definitely.
People don't realize this because everybody looks weird now. Everybody's got stretched earlobes and dyed hair and
face tats.
Yeah, like fucking librarians got fucking sleeve tattoos. You know, it wasn't like that back then. If you looked even remotely weird, you were probably going to get your ass kicked. So for me, the skinhead scene was just like, fuck this. I will fuck you up. You ain't fucking me up. You know, and that was pretty much the divide for me. And it was never, it only became perceived as a racist thing when like the National Front and the British movement and all that shit started to infiltrate the scene, you know, and that happened over there. And of course you got people over here who started to mimic that, you know, the racism and stuff. And then what happened is, you just wound up with a bunch of fucking boneheads who thought that, oh yeah, I hate black people. I'll be a skinhead. You know, and then you start having people in the prison system who are like, yeah, skinhead. And they dudes who never even heard of the Cockney Rejects.
Yeah, and then around that same time, they also started making really bad music. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, no, it's a fact. Actually,
that shit from the '90s is rough. I don't know.
'90s, man. Even that late '80s shit was garbage. I'm sorry, man. I thought the Oppressed was fucking. They suck. Most of those fucking skinhead bands were not good.
I mean, it's almost like they were like cock rock, you know?
Yeah,
bro, it was just garbage. Like it was just bad punk rock with shaved heads. And quite honestly, I was saying this to somebody the other day. First generation punk, all the bands sounded unique. Everybody had their own style. The Clash did not sound like the Sex Pistols. They didn't sound like the Damned. They didn't sound like, you know, the Buzzcocks or Susie and the Banshees or any of the other things that fell under the umbrella of punk. Every band had their own style and their own style. It wasn't until the second generation or the third generation that people started to suck.
Yeah.
Like they got more caught up in having the mohawk and the right number of spikes on their leather jacket than writing good music. You know, and look, man, I love The Exploited. I love Waddy. He's a good friend of mine, but they weren't as good musically as the Sex Pistols or Generation X or any of the fucking first generation bands. And it just got worse and worse. The bands got more about the fashion and the superficial fake statements, the phony political whatever. That
think about all the glue being huffed too.
I think that had a real effect. Yeah,
myself, and that started way back. I mean, that's just a fucking low income thing. If you were poor, you huffed glue because you couldn't afford real drugs. You know?
Yeah.
And of course, you know, when you huff glue, you tend to kind of get a little violent, a little crazy. So that was just not a good drug for us skinheads.
Yeah, there's a real problem in England.
Oh yeah.
So I want to
Lower East Side too, man. We were all a bunch of glue huffing, dust smoking.
I've heard. Yeah. It's maybe not unfamiliar to us in our younger years, but not in a long time. So
it's quite popular with us white trash.
Yeah. So I want to jump real quick, and then these guys might have, I think, have some other questions, but I want to jump to the other end of the hair spectrum real quick, because CRO-MAGS are often cited as like one of the leading like crossover bands or a band that kind of bridged the gap between punk and metal. And I've always wondered how much that was a conscious choice on your guys' part and how much was incidental. I know you fucking loved Venom and Motorhead. Those, as do I, and those two influences get cited a lot, but I'm wondering to what other extent, especially in the early days, that maybe we could talk about. I know we want to talk about some of the later albums too, because we're very familiar, but like Age of Quarrel era, like how much were you guys listening to metal or tapped into that scene, or how much was that an influence? Like Kill 'Em All, any of that stuff? What was your view of that at the time? Because I'm not really clear on that.
Kill 'Em All sucks. Sorry.
Whoa.
I don't think it's a good album. I think it's okay. I think half of it's fucking cover songs, so I'm not impressed. Like, who the fuck writes an album and does half of cover songs? That's weak.
Covers of who? Of Dave
Diamond
Mustaine
Head.
or of Diamond Head? Oh, okay.
Half that fucking album is Diamond Head covers.
The one song does have a Leonard Skinner riff too.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought fucking Ride the Lightning was a much better album. You know, I think Hetfield's voice, he sounded like a little kid, and I quite honestly, you know, the early demos, I thought Dave Mustaine played his ass off, but you know, and Cliff's a great bass player, but I'm you know, sorry, I actually think, I'm not trying to suck my own dick here, but I think Age of Quarrel was a better album.
I would agree with
like
that.
The drummer was better.
I would definitely agree with that.
You know,
That's no debate.
I feel like this. I feel like we were better rhythm players. Like Paris was at least as good as James. We obviously lacked a little bit in the lead. You know, Dave Mustaine is, you know, next level. I mean, he's ridiculous. If you were to put on Age of Quarrel and Ride the Lightning next to each other, I think Kill 'Em All.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Kill 'Em All sounds more like a fucking demo. And you know, and I love Metallica, but whatever. I like them better. Second album, third album. I even like the fucking Black album. I thought that I didn't that whole first wave of thrash or whatever the fuck you want to call it. You know, I just was not. They were a bunch of fucking tight jean mall motherfuckers, man.
Yeah.
You know, like you know, feathered fucking hair, torn, you know, knees, and white sneakers. You know.
How about Slayer? Did you guys fuck with them like in the 80s?
That fucking that screaming shit. Get the fuck out of here. And also, bro, you know what? I couldn't take it serious, man.
Understandable.
I don't give a fuck about the devil. You know, I don't care about all your fantasy bullshit, dude. I'm fucking fighting Puerto Ricans every night, fucking coming home. I don't need your fantasies of Mordor and fucking grimness and, you know, and demons and devils. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. I deal with like murderers and shit. You know,
it makes sense. Yeah.
Like, fucking go watch some more fucking Lord of the Rings, dude.
Yeah.
You know? Sorry, you know, to me, you know, music is I express reality. I express what I'm feeling. And I'm just not feeling all that, you know, Fantasyland horse shit, man. It's not me. That's why I didn't like bands like Iron Maiden and all that shit when I was a kid. I was like, I don't give a fuck about these fucking puppets on stage and spandex fucking pants and, you know, inflatable dragons and all this fucking horse shit, man. I live on the Lower East Side, man. I'm fucking, there's like junkies everywhere and fucking shit is real. You know, I was never entertained by theater or opera or fucking, you know, what's that shit?
Kiss?
I hated Kiss. I thought they were fucking pretentious as fuck. It was meaningless to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think, I thought they had like 2 or 3 good songs maybe, you know? For me, music is something for the people, by the people. It's for communicating. It's to express yourself. It's not like, oh, wow, look at Godzilla up on stage. Oh, I'm this little fucking pissant in the crowd. Like, I'll never be that huge. I'm going to stand here and idolize you and applaud. Like, get the fuck out of here. If I can't fucking jump up on the stage and sing along with you and jump the fuck back in the crowd, I fucking care. Like, it's not for me, man. That shit is for people who need that theatrical fucking horse shit, man.
It's for spectators.
Yeah, man. I don't like football or baseball either.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I'm not a spectator.
No,
I don't, you know, I grapple, I fucking do jiu-jitsu, I like to fight, I box, I do all that shit. Because I like to get down and dirty. I'm not a fucking spectator, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd rather fuck than watch someone fucking. You know, come on.
For sure. That's interesting. That's about what I suspected in terms of your guys' relationship with the metal scene. But because you guys went over with them, but like I said, I always thought it was like the Mags just kind of landed on a sound that was heavy and powerful enough that those fucking people liked it to some extent. But you were
they all kind of copped a little bit from hardcore, man. You know, if it wasn't for bands like us and shit, you know, not we, the CRO-MAGS, we hardcore, the reason metal fucking rediscovered its fucking balls. You know, Pantera would not be Pantera if they hadn't fucking came across us. They would have stayed a hair metal band. You know? Fucking, I could say that probably for every one of those fucking bands. You know, Anthrax would have probably been, you know, I know fucking Joe Belladonna would have been in a fucking Journey cover band. He sure as shit wouldn't have been playing thrash, you know, if they hadn't stumbled across us. And you know, I could probably say the same for most. Dude, Slayer wouldn't have been Slayer if they fucking didn't discover hardcore.
Definitely.
I talked to Dave Lombardo 1,000 times. I'm friends with all those guys. I told him, I was like, motherfucker, you can't tell me you didn't cop some of those fucking fills from Lucky from fucking Circle Jerks. That's
a good point. Shit. I would have never thought that.
Listen, of course not, but I was there.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, you know, listen to the fucking first Circle Jerks album. All those drum fills.
Oh, you talking about Red Tape, right?
Yeah, all that shit.
Yeah.
The whole fucking album. And the way he plays the fucking bell, the way he's like, that's the fucking root of thrash drumming right there.
Oh, for sure.
Holy shit, you're right. Yeah.
So, you know, thrash, that shit's just a bunch of fucking metalheads who discovered hardcore and want to try to pretend they invented something. You know? Sorry.
You want to talk about that? No, it's all good.
No, you're
good. We love that kind of shit. I think,
hey, man, it is what it is, dude. I don't really care. I'm not, you know, not shitting on anybody, but you know, this is what I think.
I get a couple questions about a couple songs on like some of those early '90s albums. That song "Eyes of Tomorrow." How did the idea for that come about, and like, what do you think? Do you think that song still holds up today? Because I love that song.
We love it. Yeah.
It holds up. In fact, every show we do, somebody asks us to play it, but it's just we can only fit so many songs into a set. We have to kind of pick and choose. But I can totally see myself bringing that one back into the set one day. I mean, the main the fast part of that song was from an old song that never got recorded, and I just inserted it into the slower part, which had kind of a hip hop ish Slayer type of vibe, for lack of at least that's what I was emulating. I was like, I kind of like that fucking Slayer riff, but I'm going to do it differently, play it different notes, and play it over like more of a hip hop thing, because bro, I'm from New York, man. You cannot help but be influenced by the things around you. You know, I've been listening to hip hop since it started. You know, so and I actually had a DJ come in and do some scratching and shit on it. I was just trying to think out of the box, trying to be creative. You know, every record I try to do something new, something different, but I try to maintain the integrity of what I do. You know, I'm still basically using the same ingredients. I just, you know, every now and then I try to come up with a new recipe.
And that leads me to the next song I want to, from Near Death Experience, that song War on the Streets.
Yeah, I can't even speak on that piece of shit album, because those were actually all tracks that were supposed to wind up on Alpha Omega. That album was supposed to be like a double record.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those were all leftover tracks that we never finished. And then when we had our fallout with Century Media, and they decided to put their money on John instead of on me, so they wound up basically they wound up with a bunch of tracks that they did not know how I had planned to finish them.
Gotcha.
So you got a bunch of fucking hacks who went in with John, who's not a musician and not very smart, you know. And they tried to complete something that they had, but they didn't know the direction I wanted it to go.
So it's pretty much like, that's like a bunch of like demo tracks, basically.
It's not even. It's a bunch of fucking bullshit that they fucking did horrible vocals on, horrible fucking, they sabotaged anything that could have been good about that record.
For sure.
And there were, I thought, some riffs on that record that could have been great songs, but because they did not know what was in my head, they fucking wrecked them. And it wound up being a fucking shitty album with a bunch of fucking assholes on it. and you know, Century Media knows they fucked up. I'm still friends with Robert Kampf, who was the owner of the label. Me and him are in touch all the time. And, that the business deal we had, it went south, but I like Robert. He's a good guy. So that didn't work out, but I have any animosity towards him. He knows more so than anybody now that they put their money on the wrong person, because John can't write a fucking song. He doesn't know how to play an instrument. So what is he going to do? Hum something and say, "Here, play this." The guy's fucking tone deaf. That can't happen. He couldn't hum a fucking melody if you played one for him. If you played him "Happy Birthday," he couldn't go da 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 da. So
holy shit.
I mean, whatever. But the fact is hardcore is really not about being Ronnie James Dio, so that was never an issue. It's about being exciting. It's about having energy. It's about, more so than anything else. So he was great for what he did. Age of Quarrel, it was classic. The explosiveness, the the lack of musicality made it perfect.
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah.
When I say lack of musicality, I mean the vocals.
Do you guys do you play that NYHC song live or anything?
I haven't played it in many years. I don't really fuck with any of the songs that were recorded not as CRO-MAGS songs anymore.
Sure.
Okay.
I may down the road. I have thought about the idea of re-recording some of my other material, some of the Harley's War stuff, some of the hardcore all-star stuff, because the majority of that stuff were demos that I wound up releasing. So I feel like a lot of the stuff that I put out that wasn't CRO-MAGS, and again, I did that just because of the fact that there was a fraudulent band out there touring at the time. So I just thought it would be completely retarded. I was like, what am I going to have 2 CRO-MAGS out there? I'm going to, I was like, the dust needs to settle first.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So it was really more out of respect for the legacy,
Well, I guess it's commendable of you, man, because I know there's a lot of bands who definitely don't give a fuck about that, seemingly.
Yeah, well, that's why they kept playing without me, and that's why those tours got booked, because, there were people who were just looking to get paid, and that's, the promoters, the booking agents, and the guys who were, out there performing, who had never actually written a song in the band, never been on a record with the band, You got one guy who was in the band and a bunch of fucking hired hacks.
I have another kind of influences related question, then maybe one or two other things. Best wishes real quick. We were listening to that and trying to kind of suss out some of the musical influences on that. We had one of our thoughts it's a good album. One of our thoughts was, were you guys listening to Judas Priest, or are we way off the mark? Where'd Best Wishes come from?
You actually just nailed it. I was actually, Doug Holland and me were listening to a lot of Priest around that time. And actually, that record, I wrote it with the intent of, what would a metal album sound like if it was written by hardcore guys?
Yeah.
That was basically my approach. Like, if I was to write, if I, Harley Flanagan of the CRO-MAGS, was to write a metal album, that was kind of the intent that I went in.
Well, that's pretty sick, because it doesn't really feel like a thrash album,
No, it feels like metal.
I think thrash is an overused bullshit term.
I think too. Yeah, for sure.
What's thrash? It's fucking metal, a little faster. Metal that listen to a little bit of hardcore. It's all the same shit. But I was listening to some Priest at the time, definitely, and also, not that it matters, but I didn't even know if I'd be able to sing and play bass when we did that record, because I'd never tried. And what happened was, John had quit the band, and they elected me to take over. We didn't even really think about getting another singer. The band members wanted me to take over. The manager wanted me to take over. I didn't even really want to. But, things panned out that way. And I had to go out on tour and figure out how to play bass and sing. The first tour was a little rough, man. It was like, wow, how do I do this?
Well, it's hard to do. It seems even harder than playing guitar and singing, to be honest, which is hard
because
enough.
the guitar playing usually is a little bit more in line with vocals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the bass is like holding down the bass. It's holding down the song. It's not necessarily doing the same stuff as the vocals. So it was a little tricky.
So I had kind of a big question that was on my mind watching the movie. This is probably open to interpretation to some degree, but you know, obviously in the hardcore punk scene, you met everybody. And to me, it seems equally obvious, as is covered in the film, that your background is a lot different, like just as a person, how you grew up, et cetera, a lot different than the large majority of people you would have been meeting in that scene. I think to some extent that's in any music scene, anybody's going to meet people who are different from them, come from a different place. But with you, that seems like extremely true. I'm curious if you ever felt like alienated or different from some of these hardcore people who are maybe from the suburbs or whatever it is. And I'm also wondering, like, because one thing to get along with people, like there's lots of people I get along with, but then there's people where I'm like, all right, we're on the same wavelength. Like you really get it. And I'm wondering, people that you felt that way about, was there like a common thread between them, or if anything I'm saying makes any sense, you can address it however you like. That's
totally
just a thought I had.
What you're saying, and it's actually a very good question, because, you know, honestly, there was a time when I thought, you know, punk rockers and hardcore kids, I thought we were all kind of, I remember when I was young, I thought like hip hop and reggae and stuff is like the music of the streets. And, you know, and I felt that punk rock and hardcore was too. It was like the white boys version, you know? And I did not realize that a good half, or actually probably way more than that, of the kids on the hardcore scene came from, you know, families with money. And most of them came from the suburbs. You know, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that I was the only one who was getting jumped by Puerto Ricans on my way home. You know, I didn't realize I was the only one whose dad was in prison and was a recovering junkie. I didn't realize I was the only one whose mom was a stripper and an alcoholic. I thought that was kind of normal. I didn't realize that most of my friends actually came from good families. And like, I remember going to people's houses and being like, oh. So I actually felt like the majority of the kids who were coming to the city and coming down there, you know, at the end of the day, I really didn't have much in common with most of them. You know? And honestly, I feel like the people who were actually my peers were the adults that I was around when I was, you know, a kid before hardcore.
Interesting.
I grew up with the punk rock scene. Hardcore was something that me and my friends created out of punk. So the kids that came into that were already a couple generations behind me. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
I was there, and then they discovered the Lower East Side and discovered punk rock, and then eventually discovered hardcore. I was part of it since the inception. You know, I went to CBGB's the first time in 1973. I was, how old was I in 73? Like 6 or 7 or some shit like that, maybe. I mean, I was 10 in 77, so do the math. I went there the first year that CBGB's was open. Okay,
Shit,
so
man.
I probably saw more concerts and played more concerts there than anybody on earth, if you think about it.
Probably.
Because I started going there the year it fucking opened, and I played at the last show they had.
Shit, that's true, actually.
So, you know, I probably saw more shit happen there, and I saw more evolution than any fucking buddy on the hardcore scene did. Literally. There's not one motherfucker on the hardcore scene who could say they go back as far as me, except for, I remember Vinny Stigma at Max's. I remember Roger was a Stimulators fan. You know, the Beastie Boys were Stimulators fans. All the people that started the first generation of New York hardcore bands were in the audience at Stimulators shows, whether it was the guys from Reagan Youth or Cause for Alarm or You name any of those first generation bands, they were in our audience. So yeah, you know, the kids that came around later, nah, I didn't really have much in common with them. And for the most part, I thought most of them were kind of soft.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, a lot of fake tough guys started coming out over time too, you know, because like, look, and I say it all the time, like, I don't feel like I didn't want to be tough. I didn't decide I'm going to be a tough guy. I'm going to have a tough guy image, you know? No.
Yeah.
I lived through a horrible fucking life. I lived a tough life. I became tough because I had no choice. I would have gotten destroyed. I would have been eaten alive.
Yeah.
I would get picked on, jumped, fucked with, mugged. If I didn't learn how to fight, I would have fucking killed myself. You know? I was molested so many times when I was little. You know, people think this whole, you know, like I said, rock and roll was never a fucking safe place, especially not for minors, you know? And my neighborhood was fucking grim. It was violent. It was full of drugs, you know? I became tough. And I wrote songs about my life. Other people who started hanging out after me started trying to emulate that.
Right.
For them, it was an image. And that started a whole genre of thug core, tough guy core. And to me, they were just a bunch of fucking posers, man.
Yeah.
The majority of them were fucking frauds. And then the whole era of gangs in hardcore. I mean, the West Coast always had that shit because West Coast has always had a lot of gang culture, you know, because everything's spread out. You have so many different areas that creates gang type mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But we never had that shit here until, like, you know, the end of the 80s, early 90s. We were all part of the same scene. We didn't have all that bullshit, you know. I remember when people first started going to CBs with handguns and going on the dance floor with like hammers and shit like that. I was like, who are these assholes? Like, why do you need a gun at CBGBs, you fucking dickhead? You know, when I used to carry a gun, it was because I was in sketchy fucking places and I was like fucking buying drugs and doing crazy shit.
Right.
I didn't go to fucking shows with a fucking gun. You know? So to me, all that shit really just kind of destroyed whatever unity or positivity that ever.
Well, and it's also just not conducive to like you're an artist. You have something to say, something to express, and you like making music. Like we've said on this podcast before that the tough guy, thug, gang, whatever you want to call it, it's just like total poison to anyone who actually wants to do anything creatively interesting. Because,
but yeah, I agree with you. But at the same time, I also understand it because if you come from a hood, or if you come from a neighborhood that's dangerous, or even if you have to go into dangerous areas, you know, that mentality will grow. You know, you will start. Your friends will become your crew, and your crew will eventually turn into a gang. And unless you grow up, you'll just stay in a pre-adolescent state forever. And that's why you have middle-aged dudes in crews and gangs. It's because they still haven't grown the fuck up. That has become their identity. They don't actually have one anymore. They're just children trapped in fucking middle-aged bodies.
Yeah, it's sad to see, and obviously you're not subject to that at all, which is inspiring to see. Honestly, we all kind of agreed that the movie was inspiring.
Bro, that shit is meaningless to me, bro. I'm a fucking 3rd degree black belt. I fucking have fought so many fights. I've fucking been to the hospital. I've put so many people in the hospital that it's fucking atrocious. I go when I need to fucking get shit out of my system. I go and I get my ass kicked by bigger, better black belts. Dudes who outweigh me by 60, 70 pounds, I go and I get the shit beat out of me for an hour and I feel good. I don't fucking need to impress anybody with toughness. I don't need to go to a show and bully people. That shit is for straight fucking cowards, man. And people who just don't actually have any good music to offer. It's like they have an image, but they don't have any fucking substance.
So on the subject of music, I know we're at 45 minutes before we wrap up. You're touring right now, correct? You will be soon. Europe.
I'm leaving Monday.
You're leaving Monday.
Yes.
How's it feel getting back on the road more heavily again with the lawsuit resolved and everything?
Well, the lawsuit was resolved a long time ago, and I've been gigging my ass off. Last year, I did almost 200 shows. The year before that, I did more than 200 shows.
Yeah, I saw you here. It was good.
Yeah. Where are you?
Rochester. We were at Bug Jar.
All right. Oh, the Bug Jar is fucking great. That place is fun. But yeah, I mean, I have been fucking touring nonstop for the last ever since COVID opened up again. I've been on the road, and you know, with the movie coming out, I'm going to be doing some movie tours as well. Like this summer. Let's just talk about the summer. I'm going to Europe next week. I get back. I have a movie premiere with a Q&A the day I fucking get home. I'm going to go I land at the airport. I come home, drop off my fucking luggage, and go to the movie theater. And then I do a movie tour and go out to the West Coast for some shows. Then I go back to Europe, and then I come back and continue the movie tour. I'm fucked.
Yeah, no shit, man. That's fucking crazy, dude.
Bro, I still can't wrap my head around. I'm getting off a plane and going to a fucking premiere.
I hate flying too, man. It's exhausting. Good luck.
Yeah, man. You know what? I'll rest in my coffin.
That's a good way to look at it. Before we wrap up, I have to show you this. Sorry, as a fan. Let me make sure you can see it.
That's what's up.
Everybody's gonna die. The only one that's on the demo and not the album. I love that song.
That's great.
So thank you so much for joining us and for letting us get a peek at the movie early. This I thought was fantastic, and just very happy that we could have you on. And I'm sure our listeners will appreciate it as well. Any closing thoughts? Anything you want to share?
Nah, man, I'm just really, thank you for having me, man.
Of course.
I'm super grateful to the people out there who are, you know, still coming to the shows, and
fuck yeah.
You know, I'm loving life, man. I am in a better place right now than I've ever been in my life, mentally, physically. You know, I still train hard every fucking day. I just came from exercising for an hour. I do an hour of cardio every day. That's why I fucking put out the way I do on stage. I keep myself fit because I love what I do. I want to do it the best that I can. And that's not just music and performing. That's life, man. I love being able to just get out there and live and breathe and you know, so all I could say to everybody out there is, you know, fucking be present right now. Be present to your life right now. And, you know, enjoy and appreciate the good days and the bad days. Just fucking dig deep and find the strength to get through them. You know, you're never going to be happy all the time. That's just not even realistic. We're all going to have shitty days. We're all going to have depression. We're all going to, you know, you can't go up without coming down. But if you can just savor those great times and fucking find the strength to get through the hard ones, life is amazing, man. Just never give up. That's really all I got to say to the world, man. Don't give up ever. You know, we will eventually die. Let's fucking live a fucking great life and really connect with the people we love and do productive, creative things while we are here. You know, that's really all I got to say, man. And finally, I just want to say this, man. I'm really trying to be positive in my life. If I can make it from here to my grave with no more drama, hallelujah. You know, I'm really working on putting my anger down. I don't want to carry it around with me anymore. Yeah.
Well, thank you both for joining us and for those words, because I needed to hear them. I think a lot of people probably do. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate that.
Definitely, man. It's been an honor, man.
Thanks.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. You know, the fact that I mean anything to you guys, that is an honor. You know, the fact that people listen to my music in their homes, it's an honor. I'm nobody. You know, I'm just another person. And the fact that I and what I've done means something to other people and means something to strangers, I couldn't be more grateful. If my music has given anybody any kind of strength or courage at at times that they needed it, then, you know, I have truly been blessed.
Then you're very welcome, I suppose, because certainly I've felt that way about your music. So
right on.
Yeah, we'll be in touch with Michael and whoever else. So thank you, and I hope the tour goes very well. Appreciate you coming.
Brother,
coming
I'm sure it's going to kick ass.
I'm sure too.
There's never a dull moment, and I love every minute that I'm on stage.
Hell yeah, man.
It's great. Thanks again. We'll sign off and we'll be in touch with whoever. But we appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time, guys. I appreciate it.
Of course, likewise.
Absolutely.
See you.
Right on. I'll see you at the next time at the Bug Jar.
Yeah.
Oh,
shoot through
definitely,
Bug Jar
man.
again. We'll be there.
All right.
Hell yeah.
And next time you got to roll through and hang.
No, we will. Tell them to.
Yeah.
Tell them to have our fucking. We're in a band called Leaking Head. Tell them to have us play. They never fucking. They ask. Never mind. I'm not gonna talk shit. But whatever.
Don't talk shit on your podcast because you won't get the gig.
I'm sure. Thanks for the tip. I'll see you at the Bug Jar.
You know what you do? You say, "I love the Bug Jar. I can't wait to play there." That's what you say.
You're smart. That publicist is keeping you on the right track. I can see that.
Hey man, you know what? You learn a few things if you stick around long enough. I'm gonna quote Tony Bennett. I'm gonna leave you with a Tony Bennett quote.
Yeah.
If you live long enough, life will teach you how to live.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for the advice, man.
Appreciate it.
Right on. Take care, guys.
You too, man.
Just wasting time trying to make something out of nothing. Must be something in life, but it just ain't there. I'm going through life, seems like I don't have a care. But what can I say? See that I'm going nowhere. I just gotta change my situation. There's a fact I'm leading heaven to devastation. Trying to find a way out, but I just can't.
Oh, right. So that was our interview with Harley motherfucking Flanagan. I was going to think of his, I don't know his middle name.
I probably do at some point, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
So it's motherfucking.
It's
now.
MF.
As far as I'm
It's MF.
concerned, it's MYHCLESOD.
Yeah,
I didn't get to ask him what his influences were on that song because I'm very curious. I mean, because I have guesses, but
might want to get a little closer.
get a little
to the
closer to the mic. That was even better than I expected, man. He's on the ball.
That's a guy who keeps it real right there. Not afraid to, he ain't throwing any bullshit out there.
No, dude, there's no video, but there were moments where I was just like we nailed, like what we'd fucking nailed it. Like, not to like blow smoke up our ass
we
too
should.
much, but like I'm sick of like
Hey, yeah,
interviews.
these other fucking podcasts.
Yeah, you fucking, all you
these fucking
podcasts.
lames.
Like, I'm sick of like interviews that like don't want to go anywhere and like don't maybe want to ask, like, not that we asked hard questions necessarily,
Maybe just a little bit more in depth.
but it's like, yeah, I think that's the difference between us is that like I am a fan.
Yeah, we're genuine
We're fans.
All three of us are genuine fans.
fucking
Jake,
give a
you
shit.
are a real fucking
Yeah,
like
the
I don't know,
part
it's-
you'll hear, there's a part that's not going to make any sense because there's no video. But towards the end, I show Harley my tattoo on my left arm where it's a mushroom cloud and it says "Everybody's Gonna Die," which is a song. I think we probably covered this on the Legacy of episode. It's a song that's on the Age of Coral demo, but not in the LP. That sounds
Yes.
like Discharge, and I like it a lot.
Yes, we do mention that because I just listened to the Legacy of episode not too long ago to do research, and I'm kind of wanted to ask him a couple questions, but maybe next time, maybe when we run into him at the Bug Jar, the Bug Bar. I will say, I have a newfound appreciation for like the later stuff, specifically the record from 2020, because I listened to that today at work. And I was like shocked at how good it was.
I mean, I like the Harley Flanagan, the CRO-MAGS record,
That
from
record
2016.
sick.
That
That
one's really good.
Yeah, like we've talked about it before, but like the aged musician putting out records and how it sometimes can be a little bit of a crapshoot. And
Sometimes
it's
it can
funny,
be crap.
We talked
Sometimes
about
it can be crap, or it can be shot. It's
the
a bit of a
last
crapshoot.
the last episode we talked about washed up musicians being propped up in Europe. And I suffice to say, Harley and this version of CRO-MAGS is not at all.
Not that
We
whatsoever.
didn't even bring up that like I didn't know until today that Rocky George fucking plays guitar with them, like in the band, which is sick. If Rocky George from Suicidal
we
Tendencies.
should have brought that.
I'm not 100% sure. When I saw them at Bug Jar, it might have been a different lineup. I think.
Okay, that would make sense. But he played on that 2020 record.
He did.
Mhm.
That was
And-
he must have been touring for that album, and they were still really good. I need to listen to the album again.
It's really because like, dude, he like is just. It feels like just. It is modern sounding, we'll say, but
Sure.
not in a bad way. Like, and Rocky George is like shredding like the entire time, and it's got like a really good mix of like. This sounds like an old school CRO-MAGS song. This sounds like a song from Best Wishes. This song kind of sounds like a song from Alpha Omega,
It's got a little hip hop,
but like maybe better.
Some
Like,
of the songs,
refined.
the one from 2016 that we mentioned, that's under his government name. That one's like super like D beat, and there are the new record to my recollection is a bit of a mix, but there are songs that are like that on there too. Like
Yeah.
you could tell this dude. You know, he didn't get rid of his Discharge records. Like it's almost like he leaned when he kind of came back, he leaned into it a little bit more, which I of course appreciate.
right? Almost like it's more punk than hardcore metal
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was a really good interview. We hope you guys really enjoyed it.
We enjoyed the movie too, by the way. Recommend it
Oh
very
yeah,
highly.
definitely. I don't know if it's like streaming anywhere. I don't know. We never figured that.
No, until it's not going to
Not
be
yet.
available until I think the 15th. There's going to be, as he said, there's a theater release. I'm sure it'll be available on demand, and we'll like link and share it when it is.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
But it's really good, and it's also like not too long. It's like an hour and a half or something like that. So it's like the perfect, in my opinion, the perfect length.
I liked it in the movie. They didn't just get the usual music documentary talking heads, although certainly some of them are there.
I mean, Scott Ian did appear.
He did, yeah.
Henry Rollins is in it. But they also talked to just like a couple of his like childhood friends who just like knew him.
Yeah.
And that
They
was
talked
really dope. I appreciated that.
Like
I mean-
a teacher that he had.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ice-T showed up for 5 seconds.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Harley, if you listen, I'm not laughing. It is kind of funny that you had Ice-T on for literally just to say, yeah, Harley's awesome. Which I mean, I wish I
he's
could have
not
him
wrong.
say that about me
He's
and
not
my
wrong.
band, but
Ice-T is not wrong on that.
Dude, we should do an episode about
A body count
body
episode.
count. That's a
I
great
would do
idea.
it.
Great
Fuck.
idea.
Body count is sick.
The band is sick, and like I'm tempted. I have to dig into it more, but I'm tempted to say that's like a pretty influential band, maybe.
dude. Oh yeah,
Gotta
100%. Well, they played Lollapalooza.
Right,
They were
like
on
in the first year, it was
Lollapalooza.
like a thing. Yeah.
So like I can imagine a bunch of kids who were like, I guess Jane's Addiction fans and being like, what the frick is this?
Whoa.
But also the same with Butthole Servers and probably being scared of that.
Yeah.
Scared of that, and then they're seeing a black guy cover the Exploited.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking sick.
Yeah, we need a tour. We need a
Chaos.
tour that's
Don't
like
give a fuck.
body count headlines. Then it's CRO-MAGS. Then like Alienator or something
Yeah,
like
so
that.
like a good newer hardcore.
There we
band.
go. Hey, Harley or whoever, Ice-T maybe. If you do that, I guarantee you'll sell 10 billion tickets. I'll buy 3 myself.
Yeah, I'll buy at least 3.
3 billion.
I'll buy 1 billion. No, this is really good. I don't know. What how was you guys' week?
I don't know. It could be worse. I guess it's things are turning around. I found an apartment, I think, knock on wood, and I have a mix for Eclectic Blend that, I mean, the mix is done. I have to master it, but there's going to be new music from that band soon. Playing a show with the Spits in that band.
When is that?
June 15th.
Father's
June
Day.
15th.
Father's Day.
Father's Day.
Father's
Yeah, that's going to be, if you're around Rochester, that's going to be a really good show.
Bring your dad.
Bring your dad to see the Spits and the Rogues and the
I'm gonna
Eclectic
be
Blend.
coming back from Toronto.
Oh, you're in the 6, yeah.
I'm going to be in the 6. I'm going to have
Oh, and shit, next weekend I got to get tickets. I think I am going to go. I think I have to go that Templar show in Buffalo. Isn't that next weekend?
That's the 14th.
Oh, that's
Day
the day
before.
before.
I'm
day
gonna,
before.
I'm going to get a ticket today. Fuck it. I don't care if it's
Yeah.
a busy weekend. I got to go to that. It's going to be awesome.
Dude, I'm really bummed I can't go
It's
to
gonna
it.
be fucking
'cause
huge, dude.
Templars in fucking Buffalo.
Oh,
Maybe I should stay over. I know the day before Phil is like DJing or something, which I've been to events where he's doing that before, and it's always awesome.
That's so yeah. A lot of stuff happened in the
in the six.
in the 6, in the 5.
The five.
Rochester's the five.
Rochester's
hate,
the five.
5.
5 hate 5. Fuck hate 5 6. It's 5 hate 5. Yeah, we're taking it back.
Some beatdown band from here must have done that before.
They must
to
have.
assume.
I'm sure they did. I am glad that like Harley was like, man, I fucking hate that fucking
Like this fake tough guy
tough
shit.
guy bullshit.
I wanted to ask. I had a further thing I wanted to ask about if he thought the straight edge thing was a correlation between that, but I don't. That would we were running short on time, and
Yeah,
I didn't want to.
I think that crosses boundaries though, because there's like tough guy crew, fake gang guys who fucking drink whiskey and smoke cigars and all that shit.
Yeah.
And then there's straight edge people who maybe there's issues. with them,
They
but they're
drink
not into
whiskey,
that.
smoke cigars, not in public.
Yeah.
I mean, there's straight edge guys who are like complete wimps.
Yeah. I mean,
That's the more vegan.
Yeah. Add some vegan.
Like
in
that's
there.
that's some vegan coffee shop straight edge types.
Yeah. There was like 1,000 things that we could have asked them, and I kind of wish we had a little bit more time. But maybe there will be eventually if we can get in touch, if we can meet up with them in face to face. I think that would be awesome too.
Oh hell yeah!
So we'll see. Let us know if you guys like these interviews. There's like 1,000 that we could probably do.
Could figure
like,
something out.
I don't know. The one we did with Alex from Hatred Surge, I thought was really, really good.
It's good. I'm very proud of the Gary Bushel one. If you haven't heard that, go back and listen. I'm proud of the work I did on that.
I agree. I think you did a really good job on that one.
The time we had, we interviewed Gray and Nate from Demo Listen.
Yeah, we interviewed them
for the what was it, like the best of the 80s?
Yeah, it was the best.
They came on and voted.
Yeah,
and I think they were like, wow, I can't believe that one advanced. We got them good a couple.
We got them good a couple times.
We should have had them and Connor on at the same time. That would have been fun.
Be.
I would have bowed out just to like watch that happen.
That would have been fun. I mean,
just to watch them respond to how Connor voted and made decisions.
Right, how we could instantaneously be like, oh, actually, this is why it's good, Connor. And he was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm going to change my vote to that.
Damn, yeah.
We're just like voting against things. It's like, I always thought that was stupid.
It's been kind of always sucked to me. You ever listen to it? Not really. I will say, and like, it was nice to hear Harley talk about like, I want to like not, I like to have no drama in my life and like letting go of the anger and stuff like that. It is kind of like similarly where it's just like, man, it is nice to just like listen to like, maybe potentially we'll say a bad record by a band and be like, this is still pretty good.
I love doing that. I mean, we talked about Judas Priest a little bit. I love doing that with I remember back in the day, some of our friends had a position that I respect greatly and largely share, which is that none of the Ramones records are bad. They're all good. And that's basically true. And like, I also pretty much think the same thing about Judas Priest. It's like, I'll rock with Turbo. I'll fucking
rock with
Turbo.
Rock-a-rolla.
Yeah, see,
Rock and Roll is actually
awesome.
Yeah,
it's got some like real like to me, everyone's like, Black Sabbath's the first metal band. It's like, nah, man.
Nah, Deep Purple.
Dude, I mean, Deep Purple's great.
Yeah,
like the 60s stuff is sick.
Love it, even though
like
it's
the Beatles.
I mean, that's
stuff,
definitely not metal.
Not at
I mean, it's still super sick.
Dude, it's the first metal record ever.
Yeah, Hush. Oh, that's totally a metal song.
I found a cool bad record today on YouTube. I forget what it's called, but it's 3 guys from Chicago it's from 1981, but you wouldn't know it from listening to it. It's 3 dudes from Chicago area who had just graduated high school and they wanted to get jobs as either record producers or session musicians. So they just went into the studio and recorded some really obnoxiously pretentious, like hard rock / psych music and pressed 50 copies of the record for the purpose of sending it to studios and shit to be like, hey, look at how good we can do.
Oh, so this is a private press.
Yeah, it's a private press that was intended just as a way to show people that they could play
they could
instruments and record really
wave
well.
their dicks in the wind.
That's really awesome.
I liked it. A lot of good samples on there, I'll tell you that much.
I mean, I love all the, like, pretty much most of the Deicide records. The first, everyone's always like, first 3.
Oh,
and I'm like,
no, every day is
first-
side record.
I have to listen to later ones.
First 6.
5 or 6, and then you skip like one. One
And
of
then
the
you go,
one of the bad, one of the like the 7th one,
Incinerate Him
Incinerate
is like
Him,
the piece of shit. That's like
not
the
very
5th one,
good.
I think.
or what's the one after it?
And then
then?
that's Scar. Oh no, in Torment in Hell. That's the one where
That-
it's really that one.
That
is a
one's
piece
rough.
Of shit. Yeah,
That one's a bit rough, but
that one was clearly like it's like, oh, we have like 0 ideas and
Yeah.
this sucks and
They're
here's
just
the
like-
record.
well, it's because it's like they had to probably put out like 6 records for fucking Earache.
I think
or
they
whatever,
did, and no, it was
or Century Media or something like that.
like
or
Metal Blade or
they're just like
something like that. Or Roadrunner. It might have been Roadrunner
Yeah.
actually.
Here you go. Fuck
Yeah, don't mistake me for the Florida Bigfoot swamp
Yeah.
monster.
But then the 2 after it are
Pretty good.
Pretty good. The second one of those 2 are even better. Once they get
Stench Redemption.
once they get what's his face?
Ralphie boy.
But also Dave Suzuki. He drums, right? Or something like that?
No.
Didn't he play?
He played live with them. I don't think he
Oh,
was
okay.
ever on like a record with them.
Oh, you're right.
Because he had they got that Vital Remain connection with
Yeah.
Glennie and Dave.
Yeah. But yeah, those two are pretty good. And hey, whatever, crucify me for it, okay? Yeah, treat me like Mr. Jesus Christ. Big.
But burn an inverted cross in my forehead.
Yeah. See if I give a frick. No, but it was. Thank you very much for listening to our loyal fans.
Hey, Matt, I know I probably should have said this at the beginning of the episode, but hey, metal fans, you might not like this one.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yeah, sound off
It
in the
is-
comments.
I did kind of wanted to ask him because it is like I've talked about this before. There are bands that like have some sort of weird like metal crowd, but like I don't consider them metal because like come from more. I think of them more as punk or hardcore.
Right.
A couple bands we talked about DRI last episode. They're kind of have a metal audience for some reason. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, and then like
Like the song title goes, the crossover is over.
and then another good one that I think is really, I would say relatable, not relatable at all, but Hate Breed.
Yes. Not
their-
relatable at all. Yes.
And their audiences are kind of like very disparate, I feel like. And like there are the hardcore fans who only like the first
the very
three-
first Hate Breed record.
Yeah, maybe that's kind of me. I really only like Satisfaction and then Under the Knife.
Yeah, I like those records.
you know
I
what
don't
else
care
is
about
funny?
the other stuff.
I like Slapshot having a song called Crossover Sucks, but they're talking about like new metal and not like crossover thrash.
Are they
yeah.
really?
Yeah, that's a song that came out in like the mid 2000s, and it's just like, oh right, it's like already writing about that like way too late.
Yeah.
Just like what?
Yeah, it's or like
Another band where all their records are good. Slapshot.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
MOD with that good song Wigger.
Yes, came out in 2003, complaining
Yeah.
about like Rage Against the Machine, like a band that had been done for like 3 or 4 years by that point.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Or I guess maybe I was gonna say maybe Eminem fans, but I don't know.
Well, it was probably going after like, Limp, Kid Rock,
Yeah.
Rage Against the Machine, all that
Rage.
shit.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, Billy, you got him. You
Yeah.
really got him.
You really got that dead horse.
Yeah. I'd love to meet a fan that's just like, hey,
You mean an MOD fan?
I
Because
was-
good luck with that, pal.
I used to be a wigger, but I
Now
put
I'm
on
just
this,
a.
I put on this MOD album, and it kind of opened my eyes. I really thought
He
it
made
was
some
like
really good points.
he made some really good.
He
points.
changed my
Like a
mind.
kid discovering straight edge, but it's like
What's this? We should close the episode out with that song. Can we?
Yeah.
Can we play that at the end?
yeah, it'd be yeah.
Come
Let's
on.
do it.
No, we
Fuck
can
it.
do it. We actually. I mean,
Fuck it, whatever.
Fuck it. Let's do it. I'll
fuck
do
it.
And it's just like it's like a lot kid discover. It's like a kid in the suburbs discovering straight edge. It's like it's like the same thing. A lot kid discovering MOD.
Yeah, which is to say that's never happened before. I feel like so.
But they
Like a lot kid would be like, yo, mod, the only mod I'm trying to get is one on my fucking vape, bro.
well, got a lot of problems with the lot kids. Lately,
Right, ruining venues recently in the Rochester area.
I'm gonna need you guys to spill the tea on that in a second. I don't know what you're talking about.
We'll do it off mic.
That's
get
an
off
off
mic
mic
here.
for sure.
but
well, yeah, you got anything else?
oh, that's it. Just thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Harley, for coming on. And
Yes,
if you get a
thank you,
chance,
Harley.
whenever you get a chance, watch Harley Flanagan Wired for Chaos,
Yes.
documentary.
Yeah, we didn't even say the name.
No, we didn't.
It's
I just
called
realized
Wired
that.
for Chaos.
But we'll put it in the description.
up.
It's here.
I mean, you would look up Harley Flanagan documentary. and
Movie to
Well,
2025. It'll
That's
come
what
out.
I just did. And we'll SEO this motherfucker for everybody's sake.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.
And here's an MOD track.
Turn up the radio.